No, I'll stand here. We got more stuff out there. This is it. I was meant to bring more, but like I said, I think it's completely other things. You got all our stuff anyway, so. Bring them to do it all right tonight.
I'll get them. Probably they come to you. We got you back.
Just one of those old vans, 10, 15.
Jerry, no, cool. Shut it down. How much do y'all sell them for? No, I'm talking about the other one. Which well, let's just say quick. Oh, it is? Oh, okay. Is that one of those 3D ones? Okay.
Have one mounted over water, just pulling right there.
Yeah. The way it got to pretty great.
You need something to slow down. You need me to sand, gravel, have something so when you stand up right.
Which makes it easy.
Oh,
You said you got a room and just pick up shape like it. What you want on the back.
Well, you
I thought too, if you had 2 pins or something on this, kind of down.
I see about this one. It has the color green.
You do.
And all the others, they did that on purpose.
When I was doing it, I used to go riding down there. You got riders here. This one,
So we got 3
it was hard for Sandy. We didn't know what these parts But it's challenging.
stand over like they do in Arkansas
So
State.
long you came.
With that same type of thing, with cable rings, with a hammer thing.
Now, Sandy and I just got through it, and that took us a while.
You have to have well consolidated formation.
But
They'll be doing that, gas will be blowing all over their irrigation.
Birch Street, dark spot,
Gas they waste.
or some of them are bears.
They go, yeah, my grandfather had a livestock company in Pensacola County. They livestock, and they hit to a point where it would just go down 2 or 3 feet. Just like so that it would have that much gap.
You better ask for minutes. You better ask for minutes this meeting.
That grandpa's, I was testing well, but I was wondering where and he knew I talked up crawfish shark
I
fish.
literally inherited the job.
What's the bunch of squares?
Okay, Don's finally got here. We can get started now. Boy, you get here and all, and Jerry Simmons back there just running that fly trap. Let's get started if you could. David, would you lead us in a word of prayer?
Father, we thank you for the day and your blessings in it, and each one that's here. Thank you for the help you've given us and allowing us to make it here. And I pray that you bless all that's said and done here, and you get the honor and praise for anything we do, that folks would, let's say, bear some of his children. I ask in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Would y'all please stand for the pledge? Where did our flag go?
Don't get stolen.
Oh, here we go. Well, Mark,
Jericho show his
we'll leave it in there.
Yeah, good.
That's it.
It's good. My goodness, it is great. Now we got the flag. Now we should do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're glad to have all of y'all here tonight. We're especially always great when we have one of our members who used to always be right here with us. And she had an ugly brother that was always here with us that always told jokes. That's Miss Ruth Page over here. Been here a long time. Okay, and while we got you here, Ann Brooks is not here, and I guess we still got money. I haven't talked to her lately. Nobody else has, so we'll find out later on if they cut off our light from those. Well,
She ain't
there
been
goes
here in a
again.
year. She ain't been here in a year.
She sure had, Joe. She sure had. Do we have any minutes? Okay, Patsy.
2 months worth.
Okay. Condense them down to about a paragraph.
Minutes of the Alger-Sullivan Historical Society monthly meeting, May 20th, 2014. Meeting called to order by President Jerry Fisher, led in prayer by David Green. Jerry Fisher led the Pledge of Allegiance. The minutes were not given and the treasurer's report was not given. We had reports from the car show that they made a net profit of $711.45. And that lady gave me a very detailed summary, which if anybody wants to see it, is right here. Yard sale made about 120, toys and books about 300, and food tent 260. June 28th, there's the Watermelon Festival at Showalter Park, which we will have a booth in. And we had an announcement that we had 2 rolling desk chairs for sale. They've been sold yet, or they still available?
No, we still got them.
No, thankfully not.
All right, there was no business conducted. Our speaker was Dr. John Worth from UWF, and he spoke, I got a lengthy paragraph here and some more notes over here if anybody wants to read them. He spoke mainly about the San Joseph de Escambe village in the Molina area, which is where the Escambia River got its name. Move the acceptance of these minutes.
That's a good move.
Awesome.
We got a move in a second. All in favor of the minutes as they're written? I should have asked you if there was any corrections. I don't guess there was.
Too late.
Too late now. We open and close that little door. Okay, real quick, Mike, before we get too far along, we wanted to remind you of something that's coming up. On June the 28th, we're going to be at the Watermelon Festival. We have a booth. We'll be up at Showalter Park up there. So find us, bring you a chair. And we'll have a tent. You'll be underneath the tent, so you won't be out in the sunlight. The only way you'll wound up being out in the sunlight is if you talk real bad, we set you out there to punish you. But bring you a chair and let's all have a good time that day. Now, does everybody understand that's a Saturday? It's not this Saturday, but Saturday week. We'd love to see every one of you up there. Patsy can't come.
June can't come.
Okay, well, you can't come either.
No.
What do y'all do? Hang out at
Church camp.
church camp? Ain't that where the old B&L bar used to be there, the way y'all had it?
We built that church from scratch.
Okay, well, the rest of y'all, Friday, I'm sure that Donald and I, and
Nobody else.
somebody else will help us put the tent up.
I'm planning on being there. I'll go.
You're a good man. And not only are you a good man for that, but I hope y'all have a chance to go over and look at the post office. He has did a fabulous job on rearranging, putting that up. And he's did such a good job. Got some more for you. Russell, you did do a great job. You deserve a hand for it. And your wife was, did good.
We went and got the cleaned up everything, and one of the things we did went through the donation jar. Because there's a big stack of dollars in there. I didn't think we needed a lot of money laying in there. So that's
Good idea.
$34.
Okay.
I put 5 back in the bottom just as a temptation to anybody that may want
Yeah.
to donate.
Patsy, if you would give Patsy, she can take care of that. Well, I've been knowing you there for a
I'm
year.
already back from my vacation.
Yes, ma'am.
I think one of the biggest items that Russell did was to get the new rope on the flagpole.
Yeah, we have a
raise
new
that
rope on the
flag.
flagpole, so we raised the flag. Now, it only missed for about 2 or 3 years. We're going to get around to it. But thank you, Russell, from the bottom of our heart. And Helen, we thank you for your supervision of seeing that the grass gets cut, seeing that this room is presentable. And next month, hopefully, we will have that door fixed. Russell or either Neil, one or the other of them can do it. Russell, I'm hoping Neil will jump on that. Or no, I want you to hop on that because I got something else for Neil to do. Clean out the bricks building.
Neil said something about he was volunteer for wiring that he's trying to put on.
Yeah, I knew that he was having a time with that, so maybe he'll get that straightened out in the box car. Also, we discussed moving and having another field day. And we talked about going over to our buddy over in Hope, Florida. So we just think on this. Maybe by next month we can sit down and talk about our field trip over to Hope, Florida to visit with the gentleman over there about the turpentine steel. And the biggest thing I can think about this turpentine business is what the wages was in McDavid back during the turpentine days. It was 10 cents an hour if you worked on the outside and 11 cents an hour if you worked on the inside. Now, they really paid the folks what they were worth back in those days.
Or a little extra it was you.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so if any of the rest of y'all decide you want to get real rambunctious and clean out the Briggs building, love to have you. Put it somewhere. Pick you out a good spot and let's get it going. Because we got to get another bathroom put in there before next sawmill day. Also up here on the table, and I left a lot of this out, stuff up here that's been donated. Paul Moore moved, and he had a lot of stuff, and he donated, and one of the things he donated was an old baseball hat from Century. And some combs, some log combs. He donated them. Joe's probably the only one in the house who understands how these things are used. And if you'll notice up here, we were always known as the Century Black Cats. And he even donated us an ancient Century High School Black Cat, a metal tag. We got one in there, but it's not metal, I don't think.
But if you need another one,
A metal one? It's probably better than this one.
Even better than that.
Anything we get to be better than this, yes, ma'am, we do need
I
it.
see how mine good.
And if up on the Sapulga River, Paul and I always had something in common. We wandered around in the swamps and the woods a lot. And Paul,
Get some distance there.
yeah, Paul found this gun, still got the ramrod, in it up on the Sapulga River down in it. And if we didn't take it, he was going to throw it away. And it was a double barrel. Jerry, what do you call them? These guns?
That one had a person cap on it. It didn't have, it wasn't flintlock.
Okay, well, that's what we got there. And I think we got one of these. Joe, you tell us what that is.
It's a barrel, you know, the stopper on the barrel, you know, the bunion.
Oh, okay, so that's a barrel plunger. And I thought these saw blades looked mighty. Is that a normal size blade?
Yeah.
It is? Well, anyway, it's nice, and he gave us a St. Joe brick we didn't have. And then he gave me this thing over here, some kind of an auger.
I tell you, that's what you drill the stumps with, whatever you're gonna put in there, put dynamite in to pull them out. I've done it many times.
One of these?
Yes, sir.
Billy, you're a lot stronger than I thought.
Hey, look at you don't drill in the stump, you drill below the
The dirt
stump.
under it.
No, you drill right into the stump. It's gotta be tight, and it'll blow it out probably 100 feet.
You mean down below?
Under the top of the ground, but in the stump itself. Preferably at the hardest part of the stump. It'll do more good.
All right, well, we got that to add to our collection in here. And also we got a picture from Jack Neal. Jack donated this to us, and he said, don't tell Neil Collier that I give it to you. So, but anyway, we'll tell Neil. Also, I got an old 1946 Century High School program there, in case one of you want to see it. And in 1946, Gary Simmons probably graduated at that time. Shit!
I was in the 3rd grade.
Oh. Then we got the second edition of Miss Selma Upton's book. We got both of them donated, so if you've never read the books, you will enjoy it. And this is, she wrote one, and then she came out with another one because there were so many questions. And there's more. That's the title of this book.
Well, have you ever seen that book that Stella Walker wrote in Pollard?
No, I don't guess I have. Can you get us a copy?
I had one, but somebody didn't return it.
I wish it was me, Joe.
Man, they know the band.
Thought I'd remember it. Okay, now I had something for our guest speaker here. I wanted him to see these 4 items and see if he knew, first of all, what is that piece of metal? Can you tell what that is? That come out of a Scambia River.
It's not metal. It's a ceramic of some kind. Odd though. Or resin or something maybe?
That's your line of work.
Yeah. There's plenty of things I've never seen before. So.
That's one of them.
This is one of them.
People used to put the garbage in the Scambia River.
Uh-huh.
They just throw it in there.
Yeah.
It could have been, I don't know. But if you want to take that back with you and analyze it or something.
What's the debt going to take? The swamps where it flooded.
Okay, and also, I wanted y'all to see this. My son, we call him Little Jerry. Little Jerry plungers around on the river and in the swamps constantly. And he'll dig and he'll hunt. And this is one of the things that he's dug up. And Lord knows that thing has been around. Now what is it? Joe, do you have any idea?
It's some kind of gig or the devil's tail, you know, I don't know.
It certainly is old. And he also brought me a nice nail. Can you imagine having to drive that thing
When you
in?
take that oil well does that kind of nail, you got to drive it.
You sure do.
Give a while.
And who knows anything in the world about this? Now you have let me down. I just knew you'd know what every one of these things were. He's not old enough.
We look at sheep carvers. Beyond that, it has to do some looking.
Do you think that would be part of a cannon or something? That was found in what should have been a battlefield, could have been a battlefield.
Looks like.
Yeah, Joe and I think it's a thread protector from oil field.
That's what I was, something involving pipes or something, I'm thinking. Yeah.
That? Okay.
I mean, from what we can see with our poor vision.
Yeah. Okay. How are we doing with our time? Okay. Look, before y'all leave, we're fixing to let him do his, unless somebody else had something they want to discuss tonight.
That's it, Bob.
Bob?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not mine back here. I just wanted to mention that Willie Dean Curry from Bus Springs fell into her bathtub a little over a month ago. Cracked her skull and she broke a bone. I'm not sure what she broke, but anyway. She's now in rehab at West Florida Rehab Center in Pensacola. And I was told tonight that she's going to be coming back for another week. And hopefully she's going to be back in the rehab center. So I talked to her on the phone, but who would think it would take that long to recover from a fall? But if you know Willie Curry, that's where you can see her out.
Okay.
You, Willadine and her ailments, I mean, she's got stalking.
Yes, problem.
She had a lot of problems.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Jerry wants to say Joe Brick.
I'll have to let, who is our brick expert?
That fell from Keto.
David, would you take it and run up there and see what it is?
Not yet.
Margaret? St. Joe?
We had, one,
I gave you one St. Joe bridge.
Yeah, and y'all seen it.
but
This
it
one,
wasn't raised, I don't think, it was up on,
it's still up there.
but it was given to us by the people from Pineapple.
Yeah. Now, they give us the one from Pine Barrens.
We had that one too.
Yeah.
Some sort of fine.
Did y'all want to see that?
I've got one bridge come out of Monroe County.
This is
I've
the
dodged it.
raised,
Raised.
which I had not seen the raised ones. Yeah, isn't that neat?
I would assume
That was the one I heard about.
there's a little town, isn't there a town, St. Joe?
Yeah, down there.
So,
Joe.
yeah, Fort St. Joe.
Yeah.
So it's probably from down that area.
But there's just the farm, and the
Yeah.
illustrations of the 7 holes where the screws were.
It's a real nice
Up
looking
here.
bridge.
Yeah, I wanna know, have y'all all seen this necklace she's wearing?
My titanium.
Yes, we have.
Well, it went from here to here, and the X-ray showed the 7 holes in the bones that haven't healed yet. They have great faith they're gonna heal, so. Well, I just asked if they'd keep it for me, and they did. And, I went back to the doctor's office, last week. And they had a fit. I said, I'll start a $1 million jewelry enterprise. We got a titanium necklace.
And you got a picture on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, they had a fit at the doctor's office. It was on Dr. Prolanger at the Andrews Institute. I asked my permission.
Okay. Now, while I've got you here, we got real lucky about these books right here. We have 2 of them. Now, this book right here has 700 pages. And it's the kind of book that you, when you get through with it, you want to cry because you wish there were 700 more. And it's really, I bought 5 of them. Now, they're $55, and I think we should give anybody in here, any of our members, an opportunity to get them before we put them out on the stand.
And
We
that's
only
the-
have 2.
Is that the life of Jerry Fisher?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now, this is Annie Waters' book.
That's the last of them too, Jerry, and they
Yeah.
won't never be printed.
Great.
Not those.
Yeah. They're brand new. They still got the plastic around them. It's $55. If you want one, like I said, we got 2 left. Or we got 2, we didn't have 2 left, that's all we got, was 2.
It's a great reference book.
It certainly is. And then we have this one is Headstones and Heritages from Scandal County, Alabama. Is that
That's
right?
right.
Now they're $20. They're selling up at Bruton for, you want one? Okay, well we've got, I think, 2 left. If you take one, Miss Green's got one, you got one right here.
I like one of Miss Waters' books too.
Okay, well then here's Miss Waters' book. This is a real informative book. That means we got 1 left.
I have one of those.
So I'm gonna hand this one back to you. And if you would, hand this one to
Yeah, did you explain the gravestone?
I know I did.
That's
That's a real good book.
I'll have us all too.
Yeah. Heavy thing. Okay, and while I'm on that, we ain't got many left. All right, we got out here in our brick garden. Now that's been our primary brick garden. We've got 15 spots out there right now. Well, I've done sold 9 of them. So we've really got 6 left.
And I don't think we'll have those that many
Well,
left.
you
We
can
may
see
have
so
2
30
left.
of them.
We may have
So if
2
you
left.
want one, they're $50. You can do, put on it whatever you want on it. And that'll be the end of that part of our brick garden, when those other 6 are sold. and I hope we'll order them next week. So, if you miss it, don't complain to me, 'cause I told you. All right, now, does anybody know what in the world this is?
We got it upside down, I know.
Catherine Jeter called me up and said somebody had give it to her to give to us. So I don't know what in the world it was supposed to have been, or what happened.
Somebody just made it.
Yeah,
What does it say about that?
It's a very short skid board.
Yep, I guess so. But it sure made on good wood, just 'cause it's heavy.
1936, when it began, and 1935, when it ended.
Yep.
Somebody made a great strong line up the stool.
And went all in mourning for our school.
Yeah. I keep thinking that election time's gonna come. We get to talk to Mr. Thomas and Mr. Slade. Wouldn't that be nice? I would.
Except in Central, they just put it off a year.
Yeah. Okay. Nothing else to go on tonight. So let's get on with our
Where did
guest.
this book come from?
Well, that's out of the post office.
It's out of the post office. Okay.
It's one of those Bradford, what,
Bradford, no,
Bradford.
Dun and Bradstreet.
Dun and
Dun and
Bradstreet.
Bradstreet.
Yeah. Okay.
and
Oh.
two of them out there, and so Russell decided in his wisdom that we need to get rid of one of them because it was deteriorating.
No, I left them both out there.
Yeah, well, we got one, or this is
That
another.
one is a Alger-Sullivan
Ledger?
ledger.
Oh, is that,
God,
okay.
Yeah, Don, where'd you get it at? Or did you get it?
Yeah, the guy that lives across the street.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know what his last name is.
Redmond.
Redmond. He said it was in the house when he moved in the house.
Okay.
There's a shelf out there. I can put it on.
Yeah, it just fit up.
Okay, it's an interesting book, and if you folks work around in 41, 42, there's probably something in there about them, so you might want to look at it if you had folks working for Alger-Sullivan at that time.
Jerry left the fella alone.
I'm gonna live in But he's got a time limit, and I got a stall till we get to that point. Okay, don't rush off when he gets through. Okay, I want you to stand up for me. This young man, he can stand up a lot longer than I can. This is Thistan Harrenstein. Did I pronounce it right?
Stein, but very good.
That was close.
Yep.
He's an archaeology assistant with the University of West Florida. Am I right?
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna turn this over to you, and you tell all these good folks whatever you want to tell them.
You betcha.
Okay, it's yours.
All right, pull the screen down for you. Yes, I do.
We got to see it doesn't make any
You don't have to
difference.
sit where you see the screen.
You ready for the lights to go?
Yeah, I think so.
Ready? The lights.
Yeah, right. You betcha.
Did you see that?
I don't know where the
I
other
think
switch
it's
is.
right there south of it.
Yeah, right here, back.
All right, so just a quick addendum, I also work for the Florida Public Archaeology Network. But we're all kind of one and the same, but I gotta put a plug in for my direct bosses, so. So, when we read a novel by a good author, they can make us feel like the people in their books and the events are real, even though they may be perfectly fiction. On the other hand, when we read a history book, we get lots of good information, but how often do we feel like the people in these history books are real people, that the events actually happened? How often are we emotionally invested in what's going on? History books are really good at giving us names and dates and facts. Where they often fall short is making us feel like the events that they're talking about are real and the people actually existed. So today I'm going to talk to you about a collection of 20 letters written by a Union soldier while he was stationed in Pensacola for a portion of the war. I started reading these letters. I was looking for what you might expect, names and dates. In fact, specifically I was looking for, I was trying to locate some archaeological sites we may not have known about beforehand. And I did get some of that. But when I was done reading these letters, I was surprised that I felt like I knew this person who wrote these letters 150 years ago. So while I am going to talk to you about the letters today, what I really want to talk to you about is how much personality exists in primary documents and how they can help to bring more meaning to our history. So before I go on, this is the Maine 15th. This is Melvin Tibbetts' regiment, the soldier I'm talking about. This is in their training camp in Maine, so it's not here, but it is the right group of guys. So really quickly, just because this is something everyone knows, primary documents, I'm talking about documents that are close to the source. Letters, reports, newspaper articles to a degree. Secondary documents are how we usually get our history. That's through history books, maybe a regimental history, things that are removed either through retellings or through time. So if they're written 50 years later, they're generally secondary documents. Now there's some variation in between, but I'm just going to keep it simple here. So when I was reading these, this is actually Melvin Tibbetts here. He grew up in Exeter, Maine on an orchard. And it's really interesting to see how he viewed Pensacola through the eyes of someone who grew up in an orchard in Maine. For example, he was not at all impressed with the soil that they have there. That's one of the first things he apparently noticed. Also, he was not impressed with the apples. I'm going to read this. Apples here, small and rotten, spots on them are a dime apiece. Not at all impressed.
Right, too hot.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's reasons for that, but this is the kinds of things he notices. Climate is another common subject, and you can really see inklings of who he is, where he comes from, and how he views climate change. Obviously, it's very hot and humid to what he's used to. Interestingly, he actually comments on how cold it gets in the winters at night, too. So he apparently acclimated pretty quickly. I think it's probably easy to do when you don't have air conditioning or heating. And most of the rest of these photos are actually taken by a Confederate officer during the standoff between Fort Pickens and Pensacola. And this one in particular is one of my favorites. It's taken from the lighthouse, and you can see Fort Pickens right there, and you can just make out the shadows of some of the blockading fleet out there. I just think that's really amazing we have that. Insects, another common subject. Obviously, we all think of mosquitoes, that sort of thing. What I hadn't considered was sand fleas. When you have hundreds of men camped close quarters on the beach, they just got kind of inundated with sand fleas. And him and every other soldier I read complained about this. Also, another fun little story, depending on your point of view, they were camped in a warehouse at one point, and it flooded. And apparently the water drove all the insects up into their beds. So they had a bit of a surprise there, I think, too. Plants and animals, that's another common subject. He was very enamored with the magnolia trees. He loved these things. I'm going to read this quick. It grows some of the prettiest flowers I ever saw. They are as large as a small pie plate and look very much like the white poppy and smells the prettiest I ever smelled. He really liked these. He wrote about them a couple times to different people, and he was a little more poetic when he's talking about these than he normally was too. You can really get a sense for how impressed he was with them. And as far as animals, I'm going to read this bit. Follow along if you can. I start up here all night. But think about two things while I'm reading them. One, see if you can guess the animal he's describing. There's a number of good possibilities. I think there's one best answer, though. And also think about why he's writing what he's writing. His audience is his family at home, his mother and father and brothers. And what is the point of writing this the way he's writing it? So I'm going to get down here so I have to face away from you while I'm reading this. All night we heard a cracking around our feet, but stood our feet till 12, when he come down in the low place where I stood. And I heard him apparently creeping up towards me. I stood still. The bushes were so thick that I could not see into the bushes one might. And all at once he made a leap and struck within 4 feet of me, I believe. I then cocked my rifle, went up as soon as I could to the post where we all three were then, and stood ready with our rifles all cocked, and in running aside, the thing then crept up to us again and made another spring towards us, but did not come in sight. And of the bushes we stood a while, and we heard no more of him till most 4, when we just had the glimpse of him going round a turn in the road. I hope I shall get on guard soon again on picket, for I want to put an end to whatever it is.
Got a possum.
Possum. That's a possibility, but I think it's not his best guess.
Paul.
What?
Paul.
Gollywog.
There is a large rat type
Rat?
animal, a rat type animal. I forget what it's called.
A neuter?
Well, this thing was stalking him at night, so I'm thinking it's a large predator. I've heard bear suggested that seemed possible, but I'm betting he had a run-in with a panther. And he actually decides this, he talks to locals in another letter. He finds out that there are panthers around. He says, that must be what it is. So that's my guess, is that's what he was running in. So what is the point of this story? Why is he telling this story? Is this a story of woe, of how homesick he is and how much he wants to go home? This is a grand adventure, right? Yeah, he's telling it to his audience back home, his family, this is his grand adventure he's talking about. More than a sense of bravado in here. I hope I shall get on guard soon again on picket, for I want to put an end to whatever it is. You really get a sense of who he's talking to, and maybe even some inklings of what the relationships might be with his family. What about the writing? Did you notice anything about the writing itself? Anything in particular? Yeah, what what'd you say?
He's following lines.
He is actually. He's fairly legible usually. He has a few interesting quirks that took me a while to figure out. Like 3, I thought that was an and symbol for the longest time. But once you really work him out, you can read it pretty well. But there are a few inconsistencies or consistencies you see occasionally. For example, he does tend to phonetically spell certain words. So herd for H-U-R-D instead of H-E-A-R-D.
You can do it with Mike, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other one. That's the wrong might. I could not see into the bushes one might. And then lastly, you might have noticed when I read it, I tried to be faithful to this, but he tends to think that punctuation is optional. This can make him very challenging to read because he'll be on a subject without any sign from punctuation, he'll switch to something else. And occasionally he'll go back to that original subject. So when you're already trying to figure out what that word is, and he's changing subjects in what looks like the middle of a sentence, it can be really challenging. So what does this tell us about him? It kind of shows us that he's not highly educated. He's certainly educated by a stint of being literate in this time period. But when you compare this to the average, for example, military officer, which was social elite, those are generally pretty immaculate as far as spelling, as far as handwriting. His is not as much. Now I want to make it certainly clear that I'm not putting him down by any means. This is learning these little quirks, and this is all part of, it feels like getting to know a personality, a person almost. When you know that someone's going to do something, how they're going to react to something, and so but we see things like herd, you figure that out, and he always does that. He spells scout with a K. He always does that. That's part of the person who's writing. And also it's not to say that he's not intellectually curious. He's always talking about his sketches, which I actually, you can see one, bled through on the other side there. It's a little canyon he sketched on the other side. He was getting sketchbooks from home and sending them home all the time. And he's also very fascinated with mechanisms and with technology. There's a wonderful, probably a full page or 2 page description about the original Marine hospital here and how it had running water, and it was quite the building, I guess. It was destroyed by the time he got there. But he loved this stuff, and he was always trying to learn things. So if you can't tell, I like him. I grew to like him as I got to know him. Let's see. Activities are another, there's a few common activities he talks about, and again, these give us some clues into the person writing these. Picket duty was a common one. That was what that story was just about. They would go in groups of 3, and one man would stand guard, one would sleep, and one would stay awake with the sleeping man. They would rotate that way. And you saw there, he was actually the one on guard when that panther or whatever it was came after him. And it's also interesting that every single soldier writing this time complains about how hard picket duty was in Pensacola, because it really is a large area to have to try and picket and guard. And I guess it was very intense to try and take care of that. They were on and off all the time. I love this one too. This is also from the lighthouse, from the same officer. You can see the Confederate camps, and it's still a Marine hospital right there. And I think that's a sand battery right there too. So, fascinating old photos. Another one he talked about a lot was his cooking. He was very proud of his cooking. Very proud. Especially his biscuits. Here I have mixed my dough and baked 2 batches as nice looking biscuit, about as I used to get from home. And down here, the boys liked my cooking first rate. He was chosen as company cook, and he was so proud of this. At one point around Christmas, he wrote a page and a half about the meal he cooked for his buds. It's very endearing to hear his enthusiasm for this cooking. And again, this is clues into the personality. Once you get to know things like this, you kind of feel like you get to know the person.
Question, is that a smiley face at the end of rate?
I don't even know what that is.
There's like 2 dots and a line. Yep.
Yeah, it's some little, it could be a little flaw. It could be
Above the E.
Oh, up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My guess it would be it's bled through from the other side.
Okay.
Because these are photocopies of scans. But that'd be my guess. But I didn't see anything that was definitely a smiley face when I was reading stuff.
What do they call them, an email today when you use
Emoticon.
Emoticon, that's
Yeah.
right.
That does look like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, the placement makes it especially seem like it could be.
Yeah, and it really would fit, yeah. Going on scout is another of his common topics. And I have scout in quotation marks, partly because he always spells it that way. But also because when he says going on scout, a lot of times what they're doing is going and raiding nearby towns. And so what the Union was doing at this time was they were going to neighboring towns like Baghdad and Milton especially. And they would get supplies for themselves, and they would also take furniture and send that back up north to be auctioned off and fund the war effort. And this is where you have to be careful. Primary, secondary document, it doesn't matter. You always have to be careful what they're saying and ask what their motivations are for when they're talking. You read the regimental history for his regiment, and basically they say, we did this, we thought it was immoral, we weren't happy about having to do it, but orders are orders. That's pretty much what it came down to. Then you read Tippett's talking about it, and it's like, I got a book, I got music, and I got gifts for the boys, and I can't wait to go out and get more. He saw no problem in helping himself to some small items. And again, look at the things he's getting. He's getting books, he's getting music, he's learning, and he's talking about art.
And stealing.
And stealing, obviously. And this is obviously not a behavior we condone, but it is certainly not an uncommon thing to happen in wartime either. So, while we wouldn't necessarily condone it, it is hard not to appreciate his enthusiasm for some reason at the same time. Because he was really enthusiastic about it. Kind of going with the, talking about knowing or questioning the motivation and such, making sure you understand that a lot of his letters were just to his mother, his father, his younger brothers. He titled it different ways: folks at home, dear friends at home, a couple ways. He wrote a couple to his sister. And in a minute I'll show you something that expands on this a bit, but I like this. He received a letter, and a ship brought in a letter, and it brought two pictures, Gary and Clarence, his younger brothers. They looked just as natural, the spelling of that, as life. And again, it's really endearing to hear him talking about this. He's said, I'm sitting by the window writing this letter, and I can't stop looking at these. I like them so much. Really kind of brings home what he must be going through and what his family must be going through, and gives you some inclinations inklings as to what the relationships might be.
How long did you think it took to get a letter back and forth?
I think it was at least a month. I can't tell for certain because we don't have his letters, unfortunately. We only have letters he sent home. So we don't know exactly. But I'm going to, next bit here, is 3 excerpts from different letters. And think about why he's writing these, who his audience is, and think of the tone as well. So this one up here, one bullet came so near my head once that it made the side of my face feel sort of numb and struck in a tree just in front of me. He's describing a little skirmish that he was involved in on one of his scouts. This was an actual scout this time. And so obviously he's talking about his grand adventure here again, right? And then think about what he's saying too and who he's talking to. He's basically writing home to his family about he was almost killed. And I know this isn't true for everybody, probably. It might be a different culture at the time, but my family wouldn't appreciate hearing that. You know, they would not like hearing that. And so it made me wonder a little bit. And then about a month later, he writes another letter. And this one is a little different. We may meet again. This war is not always going to last, and someone is going to return home to their friends again. And I may be one of them, possibly. I have not seen a moment yet that I wish I had not enlisted, and I hope I shall not. So remember I was talking about the difference in tone in some of his letters. This is very different. In this, he's very fatalist. You can tell he's feeling a little down. He rarely goes into like complaining, but you can tell in the tone of the letter that he's not feeling as enthused about his situation as he is in some of the other letters. However, again, I thought my family would not appreciate hearing this. They know this, but they don't want me to be saying this when I talk to them. So then, interestingly, a month later, he's writing one more letter. And it starts very normally, talking about things that are going on, and rumors he's heard, and that kind of thing. And there's a line break, which is very typical when he stops and has a meal, comes back later and finishes up. And after the line break, he basically goes into, I just received a letter from home, got the photos of mother and father. Mother, you look poorly. And the rest of the letter is, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. And here I have, I hope you will not worry anymore about me. That just kind of sums it up there. And so we don't have the letter that he received. And we don't know exactly what was said. But you have to wonder, right? And again, this brings home the reality of these people. You know, these were not just names of people who did things. This was a real person, and he had a real family. And so all this together, once you get to know this, makes the history involved feel much more relevant. And a couple other letters, this is just too interesting for me to remove. He wrote 2 letters to his brother Martin, his older brother. And these are notable because he has significantly better handwriting, and he tends to be a little more formal in his language. He uses some bigger words than I see in his other letters. And I had a couple examples here. This is one written home. 1 P.S. You must excuse my handwriting, for I have had a hard week's work, and my hand is not steady. 2 P.S. Perhaps if it was, it would be all the same. And down here, the text itself isn't relevant, but you can see how distinct the handwriting is. And I chose some of the most distinct sections just to help illustrate the point. But when you are reading letters to his family, then you get to a letter to his brother, and it's just striking how much easier it is to read. So you have to wonder once again, what is the relationship with his brother that he puts a little more effort into that? Are there any ideas? This is all supposition, so there's no really wrong answer.
His brother used to tease him about his handwriting.
Yeah, possibly. It could be a little tension, possibly. Actually, in another letter, I did find out that his brother went to some formal writing school. So is there some tension there? Is he looking to impress his brother? Perhaps he looks up to his brother and he's trying to impress him that way. Sometimes, possibly, maybe their relationship is a little strained occasionally. We don't actually know, but you can certainly see that that relationship is real, that existed.
So what was the news from Old Beetle?
News came last night that our fleet was bombarding Fort Morgan. He didn't do that very often, but every once in a while he put rumors in there. I haven't checked to see if they were just rumors always or if they were actually news that he received. It's a little hard to tell sometimes. So, again, this is Melvin Tibbetts taken while he was stationed in Pensacola. We're very fortunate to have that. So I've shown you how I came to know Melvin Tibbetts through these letters and how much personality is embedded in these things. And I would encourage every one of you to pursue primary documents and use those to supplement your own historic interests. Letters, I use these letters because there's a lot of them and they're a great example, but you'd be surprised at how much personality is in things like military reports, which you would think should be pretty formal. I read the history of Pensacola during the Civil War, and I saw lots of names, and then I went through the official records of the War of the Rebellion, and that's the official title, just want to make sure. It was amazing. I saw these names of these officers, and they were writing these reports, and they felt, again, much more real because of just hints at personality in these reports. So I know that, like, you have some wonderful primary documents here. There are two excellent archives in Pensacola. There's the Pensacola Historical Society archives. They're currently under renovation, but they should be opening up again this fall. Most of the photos that you saw came actually from that archive. And there's also university archives, and these are located in the basement of the university library, and these are also open to the public. So anyone can come in and look at, if not the actual primary documents, you can get photocopies of them. And if you don't want to deal with the handwriting and such, you can often find transcripts for these documents as well. You do lose some of the character in the handwritings, and occasionally they will correct spelling as well. So be aware of that, but you can still, there's still loads of personality, that sort of thing. And so I would encourage you all to pursue this any chance you get. So kind of wraps it up. Are there any questions? Yeah.
Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Nebraska. I grew up there. So.
Yeah, you didn't have a Maine accent since you mentioned Maine a while ago. You didn't have an accent. So
No, he was from Maine.
Where?
Yeah, he was from Maine.
I understand that, but sometimes people.
Oh, I see. I see. I see.
Do you know whatever become of him?
I always forget that. Yes, he survived. He
For a while. He's dead now.
He went home.
He's dead now.
He survived the war. He went home. He was involved in campaigning up the Mississippi River. He saw some fairly intense action, but he did survive and got to go home. So it has a happy ending. Fortunately.
Yeah, did you run upon anything for this area here, 50 miles north of Pensacola?
Yeah, did he scout up here?
I don't, I'm trying to think. The railroad, that's interesting. Of course, they tore that up when the war started, took the tracks elsewhere. But then I look at the records and I found some indications that they actually rebuilt, the Confederacy rebuilt part of that railroad and were shipping things down and then shipping stuff to Mobile across the road. So there was plenty of skirmishes going on. I don't know that they quite went this far. I did, based on his accounts especially, I did trace some scouting activity. Of course, I said Mobile and going as far as maybe 25, 30 miles inland. So not quite all the way up to here for the most part. There may have been some that weren't talked about in the reports, but yeah, they wouldn't have, I think, gone up here. They're mostly concerned about keeping Confederate cavalry and stuff from harassing them. Yeah.
Did you say what time frame that unit was here?
I remember the date. Dates are not my specialty.
Well,
You might be surprised at that, but
Sometime in the
I was
1860s.
yeah, 1860 something. I think it was 62 to 63. He came soon after the Union took Pensacola, and then his regiment left soon after the Union moved from Pensacola to out the Brangus area. So that's how I work. I don't think in dates as easily, but
Right.
I think in events. But that's when he was around. I can of course find them. I just can't remember them more.
Sure.
Exactly.
Sure.
He was here for about a year, a little more than that. Yep. Any more questions? Yeah.
You ever read the word from Count Pollard?
Didn't quite catch that.
The word from Count Pollard.
I have not.
It's an interesting thing, like you're just talking about. Miller got letters from a person who was a Confederate who was stationed in Camp Pollard, about 7 or 8 miles north of here. And he was stationed there to guard trestles where the railroad was. And it's sort of the same kind of thing that you're looking at there.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't had access to much in the way of Confederate letters from the area. I would love to get some. Just don't know quite the situation on that, but those sound, I mean, those are all fascinating.
This book is out of print, I'm sure the library.
Yeah, very likely. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. I'll look it up.
We got you a little gift here, and there, you would probably appreciate that more than anybody else. And we're coming along, and we do appreciate it. You should come back and do it. Okay, they asked me to stall y'all while these ladies got the food and not everything set up in there. Keep that away from.
He's welcome to stay.
Yeah, we want you to stay in there.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I wanted to tell you real quick, Mike, about, remind you once again on the 26th about our water hauling day at Sherlock Park.
28.
28? Okay, 28. Also, I wanted to tell you too, next month our guest speaker, and I don't remember his name, but he collects paraphernalia for political people. Oh, he goes all the way back to Abraham Lincoln and so forth, and he asked me to ask y'all if you had anything that you wanted praised or you wondered about, you have something at home you have some questions about, bring it next month to the meeting, and he possibly could be able to tell you about it. And one other thing that's real unusual about our guest speaker next month, his son lives with him. He was in the fire and the 9/11 bombing in New York, and his son is on disability, and I asked him to bring him along with him. I don't know whether he will or not, but they have moved out of New York. They're living in Pensacola now. But I seen his collection here the other day, and it is really a great collection. So If you miss next month, you're really gonna miss out on a good meeting.
Pan in the oven.
And if you don't show up, Mr. Span will be here to tell you something. Right, Mr. Span?
Right.
Okay, now, the ladies asked me to stall for 5 minutes. I hope I did. So y'all come on, go right on through and let's get to the break.
That's not too bad. If anybody gets in your way, just ram the street. Cool off one way. There you go, just kind of ease it to them.
Jeff, I guess you have to. Yeah, I got 5, but I like them so good. I retired there. Yeah, what that was. Little town down on the river. I live down on the river. I want to ask you about your, my boy, Did you learn anything? You're,
My ancestors. A lot of them are British, a lot of everything.
yeah. I didn't know it had this year in line for it. She does a better job.
Yeah. People say stuff. I got this on stuff. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, Agnes. Whatever you bring to do.
get a planted, get a planted and
This is the curator of the museum.
Yeah, they're all in our archive. I have scanned them. Honestly, you know, I can send a lot of them to you to share the size. Yeah, we've been putting together a collection of documents and such around there. They're fantastic. There's other one great ones too. There's one that's written by the Irish regiment that was here. Boy, that's a read. Those are quite the guys. Oh man, yeah.
I'm getting there, well, you sure.
That's to our office. If you don't get anybody, you can call them.
Miriam was supposed to help me, and she said,
Yeah.
oh,
determined that the bullet versus cheap.
Yeah. Very well put. That was quite the scout, the skirmish, I guess.
A lot of people.
Funny thing is, that one was a bunch of infantry caught by Confederate cavalry, and they basically chased them all the way back to Pensacola. And yeah, and then so guys from Pensacola came riding down the hill, and they thought it was the cavalry, so they started shooting at their own men. And both sides say, we got at least 20 of them, and none of our men were hurt. So I don't know what happened actually. Probably not much.
Yeah, Daniel Big Gallery writing about the ship sinking in World War II. And some of them were real harsh about admitting that they had something wrong or something. When the war was over, they checked the records. About they were amazingly accurate.
Yeah.
All those that I knew, I saw them.
Well,
But they were given credit for it. You didn't see
it was fascinating. Because with the official records of the War Rebellion, all the records from both sides, you
They
get,
compare what they thought.
yeah, you can, like there's a skirmish out on Santa Rosa, and both sides say we got at least 50 of them, and we only lost 5. It's like, well, which one is the truth? Probably.
I have not read this.
Probably either.
There's
Yeah.
some history.
yes, it does.
There's always no flooding odds. That's why they were
Exactly, and you know, we did really well. Always. Yeah.
I'd like to see,
Now, like I said, with like the book,
maybe do it again,
fine.
just can't get cut
Don't
down.
worry about it. There's
Well, had two cavalry all around and chasing them all back. So it could have been for either one.
One was done in the 30s, the was manned and rotated, one to drag on the people that were digging in
No,
and
actually not. And it was such a confusion too, you know. They already marched for most of the day, I think it was like 3 miles, and they were chased all the way back.
Oh, you was getting that today? Oh, okay.
No
I
one
usually
had done
bring
it.
some.
officers who did not want repeating rifles because they thought they were just bullets.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you don't want to.
I had to look at it.
I just read about.
I thought you was getting all that for you. I was gonna say, now wait a minute, I didn't see you eat all that before.
Yeah.
That's my turn not to go.
He thought not building a military was making war more likely, so he resigned.
Yeah, there's arguments you can make on both sides. You know that one.
Last night, they used to, well, they wanted it across the road.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Well, they are blocking the food.
Well, thank you. Yeah, but I'd like to see where I was sitting, I don't know who. It's been probably a couple years.
Yeah, okay. He got the last one ready. Now, there's one more of those cemetery books right there. Okay.
This is just stuff that I have. This needs to go in the hospital thing. It's one of those hot water.
Well, I've unfortunately had to sit indoors and wear my pieces.
Bottom here, I think of our lens.
It makes it hard to get some extra honest work. I do miss
There might be some stuff we could keep somebody from Don, hey, come here. Is there some of that stuff we was missing? Railroad stuff? I believe it is, ain't it? We accuse Paul. Over there, back out in the closet.
Back up on the shelf of the bathroom.
That's not the sack prices now.
Okay, but they go to the train, right?
Some of the ways he said things were very obvious from the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of,
That's good.
picking up on those.
Okay, now,
Harvard had no idea.
I know who it is.
But Frank called us for it. I was going to mount it in.
And it's kind of hard to it's really hard to figure out what he's saying.
It is. He's donated guns to us, everything. Some of the most valuable stuff we got was donated to his school.
Yeah, so I try to make sure.
Yeah, I bought them.
He was.
And then I made a new copy of this.
Okay.
Is that good?
I still end up being far from perfect either if I was writing this.
Hey, is this good?
Leave me alone.
Copy.
No, man, this is yours. Lean on it several days.
Yeah, you're right.
I did.
First one they get them charged on, and they ain't been charged.
No.
There's one by the front door.
We got that deal on the job. I'm gonna have my welfare check come in.
Yeah, that's right.
Go in here and
Use your own judgment. Yeah, that stuff we get, I wanted to show you that. I thought about you.
Let me see that. Yeah. I'm actually kind of stopped doing this for the time being. I actually
It needs to be, a lot of that stuff.
it's hard. You just in the outset. Yeah.
Yeah. You put it in there somewhere. You know, when you get. And that's.
I will, and then I'm gonna put this away. Uh-oh.
Some of that stuff, you have to use your own judgment. I wouldn't think that way around all the way.
But now there's still room over there.
Is it? Okay. Okay, I got it. Okay.
I've done you.
You done, okay, good. This stuff right here, Russell, this stuff right here, like these, they probably need to go with that.
Check out back there somewhere.
I put them others up, so.
Ain't got anybody sitting in. You doing all right today?
Yeah.
These go
saw something.
That thing over there, I'd like to see them probably put in here.
I miss y'all. Every once a week,
We ain't been there.
I heard you talking about it. I'd be surprised if you that much personnel. I gotta say, smelling which is amazing because when you look at sometimes county records, sometimes they were almost there's people. I thought there was handwriting down. Sometimes.
You know, one other thing you did.
Yeah. That way it was just, you can't go for sure.
But you gotta be careful with things like that. Like, say, what if you
Always find, yep.
you know, that's. I'll bring it in next time.
I mean, you can't give away property if that's what but he doesn't even own it. He doesn't own it.
Well, what he did was, he named, and I'm not gonna give you the funny one, he named
You're all right. Just take it through.
National Preserve or National Area. And what he have, what he did was, it covers the entire border. In Florida, the problem is in Florida. Question I had, I was expecting what the like you say, you can't follow that. But anyway, I'll talk to that.
Yeah, but if it was
That's a guy you have to not trust.
Hey, Don, we was curious a while ago, y'all got you some watermelons already lined up?
Why, you got something to donate?
No, just curious if y'all had some. I wasn't gonna eat before that day, you know.
I understand we got some watermelons.
What are you gonna do with these watermelons?
Sell them. Put them in slices.
Oh, well, they're not gonna be free? You're gonna sell them?
I don't know. I'm not going to the meeting tomorrow. I'm not in charge of the
Ain't no room. What we'll do, we'll get Diane to get up and give us more. Hey, look here, I already got my dessert.
I will just say I'm running.
Uh-oh. Back in the sausage. Harold knew I needed this. You know, we're talking about each. Next time you're down there,
You live in Century or?
you know,
I go down there, there makes 3 of us.
Allentown.
you don't eat anything?
Well, I know, but I thought it was, Allentown was closest.
I go down there, get the old rice.
I would just want
I eat my baby.
but you have, everything else was.
Well, it's not far from Central School.
I do have little grants.
You do the primary documents too? Or?
No, I
Well, we have- They went back in there and they went up the road. The day grant.
Yeah, he was very excited about that. It's a fun story.
Subdivide 1 acre plots in that little area.
And the reason why the floor is talks up, though.
Well, they asked that, just
I like that.
they really didn't.
But it makes me, you know, slow up.
One of them not being opened up to get consent. Bishop would always get married.
We're about a 96-foot elevation.
Panthers are like mountain lions. You'll never know that they're active. My maybe it was a different one, so they just didn't either, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, there's no definite answer. Well, he says in another letter that runs out to talk to the local council that really what it was. But I don't know, he never said in this the lieutenant cat. Couldn't see well enough, so we don't know for sure yet.
I went, when I bought a house, I wanted a house with a swimming pool. I have a couple of cars, so I ended up with a house with 4 cars. I love it.
My wife and I did.
Well, I was looking at it, checking the price. And I found a home out in Gulf Breeze.
Yeah.
But the insurance on that was like,
That's what they told us in Nebraska too for quite a while. You don't have mountain lions in Nebraska. Finally, I think they got one, and they're out here.
you walk upstairs, and they started, that's one of the
Dennis, 2005, I haven't.